Freddie Saxon's in studio, fredsaxon.com. And lo and behold, we have a stranger that just walked up.
Well, he's a stranger to some people, not a stranger to me. I worked with Kevin Brass for many years, and Russ is aware of Kevin.
Do you know what's interesting, though, is Kevin Brass's name was so familiar to me. And I said, didn't you write for the Wall Street? Kevin, welcome to the program. Good to have you. Give us your CV for some of the people that may not be, that know the name but not the face and the voice.
Well, I'm a San Diegan. I grew up here and covered media for the LA Times. I was the media critic for many, many years. Covered media for the San Diego Magazine. I was the commentator for KPBS FM, talking about media, talking about the quirks and foibles.
How are we doing so far? How is our quirks and foibles doing so far?
You're great. You guys are fun.
We're low on foibles, though, aren't we?
Yeah. We need to like refill the foible thing.
We got some fables.
Well, and Russ is buffing out with that rock. I was pretty impressed.
That's right, baby.
Well, he's
a strong guy.
He's getting bigger.
I was big in the 80s. Now I'm
he's
big.
Big and he's 80.
I even bought Russ's album.
Did you really? The Christmas rap album?
That's it.
Yeah, the Teabaggers?
Yeah, that was good. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
That's right.
It's a classic.
How soon we forget?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
So I see Kevin on Facebook recently, and he announces his new book, The Cult of Truland. This is your first book, right?
It is. We probably should like point to it or something to be. Yeah, it's but it very much plays on my experience. I covered celebrity in Hollywood for the Times and People Magazine and Access Hollywood.
Before I give my review.
And by the way, we should say that we work together at KUSI. I'm sorry, KUSI.
By the way, so for the rest of the country,
yeah.
KUSI is a local station in San Diego where Fred was Elvis, basically. He was a movie critic. Everyone knew Fred Saxon. Yeah. And for both, and I'm glad to say, as I'm walking around San Diego with one of the top radio shows in the West Coast, people ask me all the time, didn't he used to be Rusty Nails and didn't he used to be Fred Saxon?
That's right.
And I said, that's exactly, I'm working.
People look at me and say, I'll never forget what's his name.
And they're talking about me normally.
And you're still alive.
Hey, before we get any further, I hear there's so as long as you're the Hollywood guy, and I've got the movie guy here, Kardashians just signed a big deal. I heard.
The Kardashians, yeah. The Kardashians, you know them. They're really, really filled with talent.
Isn't their stepdad a mom now?
Their stepdad is a mom. That's right. He's on his way to becoming a mom. They just officially signed a $100 million contract with the network for 4 more seasons of the reality show. This was in People Magazine online. Page 6 confirmed it. The details of the deal are still a little shady. $100 million for these
just to be famous. Women. So, Kevin, talk about that. This is a phenomenon that you have seen from the inception all the way to fruition, where there was guys like us that were scratching our way for a radio talk show or something like that. These people are some would say talented, some would turn off the radio. But the bottom line is these people are famous just for the sake of being famous.
That's exactly it. Exactly right. And that is the difference. There used to be, if you became famous, at least you had some background. You were on TV, you were a movie star, maybe you had a scandal, but you became famous for something. And I think Paris Hilton really deserves the credit for changing the vibe, right? Because she set out to do it completely different way, right? She was an heiress, and all she wanted to do was to be on camera.
Right.
And that changed the whole dynamic. And the Kardashians have simply taken that to a whole different level.
I am so surprised, especially with you two guys, and I'd love to get your perspective on this from the both of you. I'm so surprised that mainstream Hollywood actors, talented actors, have not pushed back more to this reality stuff, because now it seems like anybody. Okay, Manny Pacquiao, for example. Manny Pacquiao, world-class fighter, best fighter in the world, sweet guy. Of course, anybody who's in sports suddenly thinks that they can just go do a movie. What happened to the fact that you had a craft? It's called acting. This is what I do, and not everybody can be here. Now it's it dilutes it. I'd be pissed if I was an actor.
Well, let's look at it from the other side. Let's look at it from the business side, because you have, for one, reality programming is cheap.
Yeah.
It's really easy to produce, and you have this sudden growth of cable and the number of channels, and there is just a need for programming, so they suck this stuff up.
And you can produce it on your iPhone now. Yeah. You don't need the big camera on the track or the thing. But
no need for fancy lighting or anything.
So apparently, and what's funny is because if you can't beat them, join them. So now you're seeing guys like Ozzy Osbourne, and you're seeing guys like Gene Simmons, and you're seeing other actors, the Wahlburgers. There's a show called Wahlburgers about Mark Wahlberg and his brother. I mean, hey, can't beat them, join them.
Well, you're actually hearkening back to like the early days of the genre, because Ozzy was really a groundbreaker, right? That was one of the first ones.
That's right.
The Osbournes, right?
The reality show. Kevin, I read the book. When I saw Kevin had written a book, I actually spent money and bought a book.
Wow. Did he sign it for you, or is he going to charge
No,
extra for
he
that?
hasn't signed it.
Kevin, tell us about the name of the book,
the
The Cult
story,
of Truland. What's Truland?
Truland is Jake Truland, who is best described as maybe a next generation Kardashian. He answers the what if question. What if there was somebody who had that same drive to be famous, who really had that gene and addiction, but was maybe smart and maybe a little classier, but had a different skill set.
That actually had the juice to do it.
And the skills.
Yeah. And then, so take us to the next step.
And so that brings us into this world of celebrity journalism and media. And that's really what my book is about this coercive effect of celebrity journalism and the growth of it and how it affects the traditional media and just how much of it we see out there right now and how those reality stars and the people who are addicted to fame work hand in hand with that celebrity media.
Yeah, all of a sudden, someone from a reality show is on us Dancing with the Stars, and like, Star, you were just a mailman 2 years ago.
And there used to be, and think about it, there used to be just like a few of these shows. There's Entertainment Tonight, maybe it was a National Enquirer, and now you see dozens of these programs.
So is celebrity journalism like I'm seeing with... you just mentioned Entertainment Tonight and such. What's the new news station?
TMZ.
TMZ.
Right.
Is that celebrity journalism?
Oh well, that's the new generation.
Or is that the I Ching of
I think that's the Kardashians of celebrity journalism.
Okay.
And so it used to be that the studios could kind of control this world, right, of coverage of Hollywood. TMZ and these guerrilla outfits are changing that dynamic. They don't care if the studios are going to invite them to their junkets and their parties. They're going to go out there and they're going to get in people's faces.
Coming out of the gym and coming out of the bars and stuff. Hey, what do you think?
Completely changes the dynamic.
The book reads like a movie.
Yeah.
And I want to know what's happening. It kept pulling me through. I didn't have to push, and I'm not a big time reader.
How about a question?
Lots of pictures.
Thank you, Fred.
Is this your first book?
It's my first novel. Yes.
So what is it? Just logistically speaking, because we got a big audience of people, entrepreneurs, some of which are working on their first book, some of which are trying to figure out what their career is going to be because they're getting out of the military, some of which are just Johnny Lunchbucket sitting on their couch. So what was the big difference for you in writing a column? Writing critical journalism and then writing this?
There was a big epiphany for me in that moment when I realized that I wasn't writing the great American novel. That I wanted to write a book that was going to be fun to read, that I wanted to read, that said something, but I didn't want to get, when I stopped trying to get caught up and trying to be big and important.
Make some sort of a big statement.
That changed everything, right? You can get hung up on that. You start working through every little line as it must be important. No, I wanted to write a fun book, and I wanted a book to say something about celebrity and media, but I didn't want to get wrapped up in that.
I wanted to go back to the Oscars for a minute because I think.
Which, by the way, I agree wholeheartedly is the most boring.
That's my point. What do you think happened? I mean, are we in a sensitive? I think there's a blanket of sensitivity over everything right now.
Sure.
And I think that was painfully aware with the exception of his first joke. Neil Patrick Harris said something, about
the white reference.
The white reference, but which of course was edgy. It would not have been edgy 5 or 10 years ago.
Somebody wrote that stuff, and I think Neil Patrick Harris tried to spice it up by adding some ad libs.
Right, but
that may have been one.
But the point is, though, there was this whole blanket of let's make sure we don't piss anybody off. And which I think waters it down for me.
Or then it was so forced when they did try to, when they wanted to be a little edgier. It's so forced. The irony, of course, is that the Academy, which is supposed to be all about entertainment, really does lousy entertainment, right? They're just not good at it.
Well, do you know why?
They're just not,
the ratings were down, by the way. The ratings were down.
Because people turned it off halfway through. I've always advocated a website called shutupandact.com and shutupandsing.com because at some point, just like everybody else thinks they can be an actor, actors and anybody famous thinks they should be political. And I could never understand that. When we come back, I want to talk a little more about that. And then I got to ask you, as a media critic, about Brian Williams. When we come back, we're going to talk about Kevin Brass is his name. He's the author of The Cult of Truland, A Tale of Fame, Murder, and a Man's Quest for the Perfect Talk Show Guest. He skipped college and focused on a career in writing and journalism. And you've seen him in the Wall Street Journal, and you've seen him in the New York Times, L.A. Times. I'm sure he was in the Ocean Beach Rag at one point, and the South Bay Weekender, if I'm not mistaken.
All the penny saver.
Yeah, penny saver little thing for
right
at that point. And I think he wrote the copy for Winston Tastes Good Like
a Cigarette Show.
That was him.
Gosh,
That's
darn
him.
it.
That's him. That's right.
Did all the stuff on Mad Jacks too.
That's right. Yeah, You Better Believe It, Baby. Shotgun Tom. That was Kevin Brass. Right. Also wrote all the lyrics to Santana's instrumental album. Big Biz Show. BigBizShow.com. Follow us on Twitter, Big Biz Radio. 21,000 of you do. Could use another one.